Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
Here is the essay, following your provided detailed instructions and formatting constraints. Introduction. In the landscape of scholarship, examining the intersection of technology, society and everyday life, Philip Agre's 1992 work, The Dynamic Structure of Everyday Life, stands as a significant contribution, focusing acutely on the detailed mechanisms by which computational systems shape and are shaped by routine human activities. Agre's work presents a compelling framework for understanding the mutual constitution of technology and lived experience. This essay undertakes a critical section-by-section evaluation of Agre's central claims, analysing the arguments presented, assessing the evidence brought to bear, and examining the lasting importance of his insights concerning the dynamic interplay of structure and agency in the digital age. Section 1 Introduction on the Integration of Information and Experience. Agre begins by outlining the project's central concern: how to transcend oppositions between abstract models of information processing and the richness of lived experience. He argues against viewing computation solely as a matter of abstract symbol manipulation, detached from the world. He proposes, instead, an understanding of computation as intrinsically linked to the concrete practices and experiences of individuals within specific social contexts. His claim is that traditional approaches in artificial intelligence, cognitive science, and social theory have failed to adequately integrate the subjective aspects of experience with objective structures governing behaviour. The introduction lays the groundwork for a critique of prevailing assumptions about the nature of information, intelligence, and human action. The methodology implicitly proposed is an interdisciplinary approach, drawing from computer science, anthropology, and philosophy to develop a more holistic picture of the relationship between technology and everyday life. One might find it a rather ambitious undertaking, given these fields often operate with conflicting goals and vocabularies. Agre must thread a needle. Section 2 Computation and the Negation of Experience. This section delves into the historical roots of the divide between computation and experience, tracing it back to Cartesian dualism and the rise of mechanistic philosophies. Agre argues that these traditions have fostered a view of the mind as a separate entity from the body and the world. This creates an artificial separation between thought and action, between the abstract realm of computation and the concrete realm of lived experience. He proposes this separation has had profound consequences for the design of computational systems often built on the assumption that human users can be treated as interchangeable information processors, devoid of individual needs or contexts. The critique of Cartesianism provides a philosophical foundation for Agre's project, positioning it as an attempt to overcome a fundamental limitation of Western thought. The claim is that computational systems designed according to Cartesian principles are inherently alienating and disempowering. The historical analysis is persuasive in tracing the intellectual genealogy of this divide, but it might face challenges from those who argue that Cartesianism has been unfairly caricatured or that it continues to offer valuable insight. Section 3 Grammars of Action. Agre introduces a conceptual framework termed Grammars of Action, designed to bridge the gap between formal models and situated practice. This framework proposes that everyday activities are structured by implicit rules and expectations, which individuals learn through experience. These grammars are not static or rigid but are constantly evolving and adapting to changing circumstances. Agre argues that computational systems should be designed to be compatible with these grammars, rather than imposing their own logic onto human users. The concept of grammars of action draws heavily on ethnomethodology, a sociological approach that focuses on the methods people use to make sense of their social world. He suggests that understanding these methods is essential for designing systems that can be seamlessly integrated into everyday life. The success of the grammar of action concept hangs on it being something more than simply a label for existing concepts. In ethnomethodology and HEI, it must offer some genuine explanatory power. Section 4. The structure of routine. This section delves deeper into the nature of routine, arguing that it constitutes a fundamental aspect of human life, though often overlooked or denigrated by philosophical and social theory. Agre challenges the view of routines as mindless or automatic behaviours, instead emphasizing their dynamic and adaptive nature. He proposes that routines are not simply repetitions of the same actions, but are rather flexible patterns that can be adjusted to fit changing circumstances. These routines are inherently social, shaped by shared norms, expectations, and practices. He emphasizes the importance of understanding the social context in which routines are embedded, as this context profoundly influences their meaning and function. Agre's argument here is potent, as everyday experience reveals the significance of these often unnoticed actions. By elevating them, their level of analysis exposes their complexity and importance. Section 5. Plans and situated action. Agre directly engages with the debate between planning and situated action in the fields of artificial intelligence and cognitive science. The planning approach assumes that human action is guided by explicit plans and goals, which are formulated in advance and then executed in a step-by-step manner. In contrast, situated action emphasizes the improvisational and context-dependent nature of human action. Agre argues that the planning approach is unrealistic and fails to capture the richness and complexity of everyday life. He suggests that human action is primarily driven by resourceful coping, a process of responding to immediate circumstances in a flexible and adaptive manner. He argues that the situated action perspective provides a more accurate and insightful model of human behavior, particularly in dynamic and unpredictable environments. This claim is somewhat controversial, as it challenges the assumption that planning plays a central role in human cognition. Section 6. The division of labour and the design of systems. This section critically examines the impact of the division of labour on the design of computational systems. Agre argues that the division of labour often leads to the creation of systems that are fragmented, specialised, and difficult to integrate into everyday life. He proposes that system design should take into account the holistic nature of human activities and strive to create systems that support collaborative work and flexible task allocation. He suggests that systems should be designed to allow individuals to adapt them to their specific needs and contexts, rather than imposing a fixed structure on their work. The argument here is that the design of systems should be informed by an understanding of the social dynamics of work, rather than simply optimizing for efficiency or productivity. Section 7. Surveillance and self-control. Agre explores the ways in which computational systems can be used to monitor and control human behavior, raising concerns about the potential for surveillance and the erosion of individual autonomy. He argues that the increasing use of data collection and analysis technologies poses a threat to privacy and freedom, suggesting that these technologies can be used to manipulate and coerce individuals. He emphasizes the importance of designing systems that prioritize privacy and accountability, advocating for transparency and the right to control one's own data. This section anticipates many of the ethical dilemmas posed by contemporary surveillance technologies, making it a prescient contribution to the field. The claim that surveillance technologies pose a significant threat to individual autonomy is supported by numerous examples of surveillance abuse. Section 8. The politics, infrastructure. This section examines the political dimensions of infrastructure, arguing that infrastructures are not simply neutral technical systems but are rather deeply embedded in social, political, and economic power relations. He proposes that the design and deployment of infrastructures can have profound consequences for the distribution of resources and opportunities, as well as for the exercise of power and control. He emphasizes the importance of public participation in the design and governance of infrastructures, advocating for democratic processes that ensure that infrastructures serve the public interest. The argument here is that infrastructures should be viewed as public goods, subject to democratic oversight and accountability. This claim resonates with current debates over net neutrality and the control of online platforms. Section 9, Representation and its discontents. Agre delves into the complex relationship between representation and reality, criticizing the assumption that representations accurately reflect the world. He argues that representations are always partial, selective, and shaped by the interests and perspectives of the representer. He proposes that representations should be viewed as tools for action, rather than as mirrors of reality, claiming that they should be designed to support particular purposes and goals. He emphasizes the importance of reflexivity, encouraging designers to be aware of their own biases and assumptions as they create representations. Here he begins to explore a postmodern theme, suggesting that there is no single, objective truth and that all knowledge is situated in perspective. Section 10. Identity and information. This section examines the ways in which information technologies shape and are shaped by identities, focusing on the evolving nature of selfhood in the digital age. Agre argues that information technologies can both enable and constrain the construction of identity, proposing that individuals can use these technologies to express themselves and connect with others, but they can also be subjected to surveillance and control, which can limit their freedom of expression. He emphasizes the importance of agency and self-determination in the construction of identity, advocating for policies and practices that empower individuals to control their own data and express their authentic selves. The claim that information technologies can both enable and constrain identity formation is intuitively plausible, as these concepts are readily seen in the context of social media and online communities. Section 11, The Life of the Mind. Agre turns his attention to the nature of the mind, challenging traditional views of cognition as a purely internal and individual process. He argues that cognition is inherently embodied, embedded, and extended, claiming that it is shaped by the body, the environment, and the social context. He proposes that thinking is not simply a matter of manipulating abstract symbols, but is rather a form of skillful coping with the world. He emphasizes the importance of experience and practice in the development of cognitive abilities, advocating for learning environments that encourage active engagement and exploration. This section draws on the embodied cognition movement, suggesting that the mind is not separate from the body but is rather deeply integrated with it. The claim that cognition is embodied, embedded, and extended is somewhat controversial, as it challenges the traditional assumptions of cognitive science. Section 12, The Future of Everyday Life. Agre concludes by looking ahead to the future of everyday life in an increasingly digital world. He argues that the design of technology should be guided by a commitment to human values, such as autonomy, dignity, and social justice. He proposes that technology should be used to empower individuals, promote social inclusion, and foster a more sustainable and equitable society. He emphasizes the importance of critical reflection and public engagement in shaping the future of technology, advocating for democratic processes that ensure that technology serves the common good. The future of everyday life hinges on a careful balance of technological progress and social responsibility, and Agre suggests that we must strive to create a future in which technology enhances, rather than diminishes, the quality of human life. Conclusion. Philip Agre's The Dynamic Structure of Everyday Life presents a comprehensive examination of the interplay between technology and social life. Through his analysis, he offers a challenge to conventional understandings of computation, intelligence, and human action. His concept helps to bridge the gap between abstract models and the lived reality of individuals within specific contexts. Agre's work stands as a significant contribution, providing a framework for understanding and navigating the dynamic relationship between technology and social structure.
We really appreciate you tuning into this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.